Okay, we are recording. Good evening. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
No echo tonight.
Nope.
Today, we are already on record. I'm recording, I'm sorry. It is May 3rd, 2021 at 5 o'clock, 5:04 now. And the first matter tonight is the Petrucci, 35 Castle Road. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I see that council is present for the applicant. And no introduction may be necessary for Steve Smith, but I'm going to introduce everyone anyway for the record. And tonight we are having a Zoom meeting. Oh, great. There's our building inspector, Wayne Wilson, has just joined us. And hi, Wayne. We're just getting started. And tonight we're having a meeting via Zoom pursuant to the order of Governor Baker, dated March 22nd, 2021. I'm sorry, 2020. And so the first meeting tonight is regarding, again, 35 Castle Road for Mr. and Mrs. Petrucci. And I'd like to call that meeting to order. Introduce the board members who are myself, Jocelyn Campbell, Peter Barber, Max Casper, David McCool, and Michael Ralworth. Those will be the members hearing tonight. David Walsh is also on the board list, but he's present, but he's not going to be active tonight for this hearing. So the next part of the process is that we're going to read the notice that was published in the newspaper, and then we will begin the hearing and hear from Attorney Smith. So the hearing notice was published on April 19th and April 26th, and it reads as follows. A public hearing will be held on the petition filed by Ronald Petrucci for the property located at 35 Castle Road, Nahant, Massachusetts, seeking a special permit to allow a building height of over 30 feet pursuant to section 502 of the zoning bylaws of the town of Nahant. The inspector of buildings has issued a cease and desist letter dated March 1st, 2021, because the actual renovation of the building is not consistent with the building permit application and plans submitted. Okay, so Mr. Smith, if you'd like to get started.
Yes, Madam Chairman, thank you. Stephen Smith appearing on behalf of the petitioner, Ronald Petrucci. If I could, I just want to start by giving the board a general description of the property that's the subject of the petition before you. 35 Castle Road is in an R2 district. The lot is 11,900 square feet. It hosts a single family dwelling. Originally, the property was developed on or around 1949, according to town records, with a 1.5-story building. More recently, the property was purchased by the petitioner back in 2014. And just recently, he had begun removing and replacing the existing 1.5-story structure with a 2.5-story structure. I didn't prepare the application, but to my understanding, as part of the application, the board would have received a reduced certified plot plan prepared by Ralph Reed showing the existing footprint of the property. Is that correct?
Well, we not only received some piece of the plot plan with the application, but we also received a revised, looks like a revised plot plan with a lot of writing on it. Did everyone in the board receive the copy I sent out for that purpose?
Yes.
Did you send out today?
Yes. I just received it, I believe it was either late Friday or today. So,
Yeah, I received it, but I'm a little bit curious as to what effect it has because it's handwritten notes. And I guess these are attributable to the surveyor, correct?
it looks like it, yes. And we'll talk about that during our deliberations.
Okay.
And I'll get to explaining what those plans are. But the first plan I wanted to reference was the Reed Land Surveyor plot plan, just showing the existing footprint of the home and where it's positioned on the property. And if you see it, you'll show there's like a 15-foot front yard to the front of the front porch area. There's a right side yard of 19 plus feet, left side yard of approximately 40 feet. I want to double check that with my magnifying glass, in a rear yard, which I don't believe is measured out, but is well in excess of 40 feet. There's a second plan that I think the one you're referencing that was submitted on Friday that was prepared by Chuck Fair and more recently submitted, distributed to members of the board. And that's a plot plan done by registered land surveyor Charles Fair, which was put together to show some of the dimensional qualities of what exists on the property today. And so on the handwritten notes on the stamp plan, Mr. Fair references lot coverage, also referred to as building coverage, with the existing structure is 18.8%. The open space is 64.5%. The floor to area ratio is 27.7%. And he references a calculation from the next plan I'll reference of the dwelling height, which is 31.6 feet plus or minus. And that's why we're here tonight. The issue is the height of the existing structure exceeds the maximum allowable 30 feet in that zoning district. And so we are seeking a special permit allowing for that additional 1.6 feet or 1 foot 7.2 inches to continue to exist. The third plan you would see would be the Parsons and Fair plan that shows how he calculated the height. Again, it's a stamp plan done by Mr. Fair, showing a building height of 31.6 feet exterior. That was done with the surveyor's level and a 25-foot surveying rod, which apparently is rare in the industry, to measure from the outside. He also did an inside measurement, which was slightly less than that, which he accounts for the framing at the very peak of the property. We went with the greater height of 31.6 feet. And so we're asking relief to accommodate that additional 1.6 feet in height. Those are the three plans. And if there's any questions on those or what's on them, I'd certainly be glad to answer the board's questions now or whatever time you determine appropriate.
Okay.
The question I had when I talked to the homeowner, and I think everybody has, is, well, how did you get there? And this wasn't a case where someone just flaunted what the rules were. I've seen several of these. I've represented people on several of these. I don't know of anybody who's just said, cast caution to the wind, let's build as high as we want, and hopefully won't get caught. We'll deal with when we do. That is absolutely not the case. There were a bunch of incremental steps or events that led to the height of the building where it is right now. I have a set of plans here for the building, 28 sheets of plans that I've gone through. And it showed the second floor ceiling height, floor to ceiling, the second floor on the plan to be 7 feet 8 inches or 92 inches. When the building was under construction, and plans are plans, and you try to follow the plans as close as you can, but in every single case I've been involved with, there are modifications generally intended to improve the plans. In this particular case, the framing for the second floor, the 2x6 foot framing, was cut to the 92 inches, a 7 foot 8 inch length. What was added to that was a bottom plate, 2x6 bottom plate, and a double top plate of 2x6s. And that step alone added 4.5 inches to the height of the building. So what initially was a proposed height of just over 29 feet, just increased by 4.5 inches. And apparently not full consideration was given to what impact that might have now or as a result of any future events. Second change that was taken to improve the structural integrity of the dwelling is the floor framing between the first and second floor, and the second floor in the attic was increased to the planned 2x8 to 2x10s. That step added 4 inches. So we've got 4.5 inches for the bottom plate, the top plate on the second floor, and another 4 inches on the first and second floor total by increased dimensions on the framing lumber. Lastly, the roof pitch was adjusted. What is shown as a 6 pitch or a 6-inch drop over 12 inches in order to make for apparently a better transition with the two gables that you see on the left and right-hand sides of the building was increased to a 7 pitch. That change for a building that's just over 34 feet wide, take half of this over 32 feet wide, take half of that 16 feet. If you take a 16-foot stretch and you add an inch per foot, you are adding 16 inches. And so that 16 inches on the with as a result of the increased roof pitch, with the 4 inches from the increase in the floor framing dimensions and the 4.5 inches from the plates on the second floor, added 24.5 inches, 24.5 feet, 24 inches strike all that, 24 and a half inches to the height of the building. So what started out as a building at 29.2 feet ended up as a structure that's 31.6 feet. That's the number that's shown on Chuck Fayer's plan. So again, it wasn't a single change. It was the combination of several incremental field modifications that were done during the course of construction.
So
The
in
Nahant zoning bylaw-
in those respects, the structure was not constructed according to the plans that were submitted earlier.
Not 100%, no.
Okay,
And I would venture to guess that's never the case. But in this case, it resulted in a zoning violation. And that's why we're here this evening.
Okay, so, Mr. Smith, have you concluded your presentation?
I have not.
Okay, keep on. Bear in mind that we're familiar with the property as we've recently allowed.
I'd like to talk about some of the relevant zoning issues if I could. The zoning standard, the Hunt zoning bylaw provides for relief for height up to a certain extent by virtue of a special permit. It's section 5.02, which is repeated on the table 2, which is a dimensional table. It essentially says the maximum height may be increased to 35 feet by special permit if the ZBA finds additional height will not cause overdevelopment of the lot, comma, increase floor to area ratio over that permitted in the district, comma, or, which I was surprised it didn't say and, it says or interfere with views of or sunlight of adjoining or nearby properties in a significant manner. And again, that's repeated on table 2 footnotes of the zoning bylaw. The first prong of that analysis, overdevelopment of the lot, is somewhat of an objective standard. If you look at the Chuck Fayer plot plan that was, I believe, the one you received over the weekend, you'll see that at least by the zoning bylaw standards for density, the building coverage is 18.8%, where it's allowable at 25%. Open space is at 64.5%, where the minimum is 40%. The floor to area ratio is 27.7%, where it's allowable up to 45%. So it strikes me that given the fact that it's well below the maximum building coverage, open space, and floor to area ratio, that it would support a finding that the increased height does not result in the overdevelopment of the lot. And I think that's really an objective measure, not a subjective issue. The second prong is increase in the floor to area ratio over that permitted in the district. And again, another objective standard. Referring back to the Surveyor Fayer's plot plan, he calculates the floor to area ratio at 27.7%, where it's permitted is 45%. So again, it's a pretty straightforward measurement. The increased height does not cause an increase in the floor to area ratio above that's allowed in the district. It's substantially below. The third prong is a little trickier, is whether the increased height does not interfere with the views or sunlight of adjoining properties or nearby properties in a significant manner. Looking at that objectively, we're looking at whether or not that 1.5 feet or just over 1.5 feet at the peak of the building interferes with the sunlight or the views of adjoining properties. Referring back to the Reed plot plan, you'll see that the dwelling itself, or the structure on the property itself, has substantial setbacks on the right and left side, as well as the front and rear. The right side is just under 20 feet, twice as what's required. Left side is about 40 feet, 4 times what's required. But just as importantly, the adjoining properties, the abutters to the right at 29 Castle Road, there is a garage which is located 10 feet off the property line, 30 feet from the 35 Castle Road structure. The house on 29 Castle Road is offset, completely offset from the setback in the footprint of the structure at 35 Castle Road. And so it's hard to argue that there would be any interference, much less significant, with sunlight or views to the abutter at 29 Castle Road, who may be present on tonight's meeting, can certainly speak for herself. 37 Castle Road, to the left of the property. Again, just by sideline setback is 40 feet from the structure, plus the setback of the property at 37 Castle Road. A butter of adjacent properties across the street, number 12 Castle Road, a 1-story building on the corner of Fox Hill Road. 16 Castle Road, a 1.5-story structure on the opposite corner of Fox Hill Road, are also across, not only they have the front yard setbacks that they have, the front yard setbacks afforded by 35 Castle Road, but it's also a 50-foot right-of-way, Castle Road, between the two of them. And so I think when you put all those together and you just look at the physical location of the structures to make it, and looking to make a determination as whether or not the increase in height, the 1.5 foot increase in height, interferes with the views of sunlight in a significant manner, arguably the finding has to be that they don't. More trickier than that is a subjective review, and that comes down to generally the opinions of the owners of the adjoining or nearby properties, so-called parties in interest. And I know I've been through hearings on both sides of the equation where sometimes you get people who have a general interest, people who aren't members of the immediate neighborhood, are not abutters or abutters to abutters, not adjoining property owners, not nearby property owners, just as the town at large, but they don't have standing. It really comes down to subjectively what the opinion is of the people who are impacted by the increased height. I had hoped you'd receive a petition that was sent in today. And again, we're at a disadvantage at Zoom. I don't get a chance to sit with you at the desk and hand you documents and for illustration of points. And so we had to rely on email, and some of that came in late, and I apologize for that. But one of the things you would have received was a petition, and I'm going to read it to you. The undersigned residents of the 35 Castle Road neighborhood are aware that the single-family home recently constructed on the property exceeds the maximum allowable height by 1.6 feet. In our opinion, the home as built does not interfere with our views or sunlight in a significant manner. And that petition is signed by the owners of number 10, number 12, number 16, 18, 20, 29, 37, and 47 and 49 Castle Road. The 10 members, all of which are abutters or abutters to abutters, with one exception, on 37.5 Castle Road, but I'll get to that in a minute. So you have, and again, I'll hold it up, but I hope this is what you see.
We have it already, Steve, and we've already
people who were affected by that have claimed by their own signature that in their opinion, the building does not interfere with their views or sunlight in a significant manner. It also had submitted emails. I believe there were 7 emails from neighbors, including abutters and abutters to abutters, those so-called parties in interest. And they came from the owners of, there's some redundancy, 10, 12, 16, 18, for the first time, 37.5 Castle Road and 39 Castle Road. Just to read snippets from a few of them, you certainly can read them in their entirety. 12 Castle Road, I have no objection to finishing your project. 16 Castle Road, it has no impact on our view of the water. 18 Castle Road, I have no objection to the size of your home. Your home is beautiful. It's a beautiful addition to the neighborhood. 29 Castle Road, we don't have an issue. It's an immediate abutter. We do not have an issue with the height difference. 37.5 Castle Road, an abutter to abutter, someone who didn't have the chance to sign a petition because they're out of town. We have no issue with the height of your house. It no way impacts us at 37.5 Castle Road. 39 Castle Road, an abutter to a abutter of an abutter. We find the oversight on the height reasonable, acceptable. We'd like to see the decision of this project made quickly so that the Petrucci family can complete their beautiful home. And from 6 Foxhill Road, just at the end of Foxhill Road near its intersection with Castle Road, I have absolutely no problem with the height of your new home at 35 Castle Road. And so if the standard is whether or not it's overdevelopment of a lot, then the numbers would say that it isn't. If the standard is whether the floor to area ratio exceeds what's allowable in a zoning district, the answer is it does not, it's well below that. And if the standard is whether or not the increase in height will interfere with the view or sunlight in a significant manner of nearby or adjoining properties, those nearby and adjoining property owners have spoken for themselves and said that that is not the case. So with that, Madam Chairman, I would ask the board's consideration of granting a special permit, allowing for the increase in height of the existing structure. And again, I'll answer any questions you might have.
Certainly. Okay, so thank you very much. We do have all that information. We have the list of the petitioners, we have people who have wrote in support, we have the email. All of that information has been sent to all in our packet. So before we get into questions, the building department inspector is here today, Wayne Wilson. Wayne, did you want to add anything to the conversation? Or are you just here for questions?
Let me unmute myself first. And no, I was just kind of coming in to answer any questions that anybody might have. Certainly, you've got a detailed explanation of how someone figured out how not to follow the plan. But that's why I put the stop work order on it, and that's why they're in front of you.
Okay, thank you. So does anyone have any questions for Mr. Smith or Mr. Wilson?
I got a question for Wayne. Wayne, so there's a cease and desist order to stop all work on this property?
Technically there is, but I did give him permission to work on areas not related to the roof.
Okay, yeah, because I drove by as I think many of us do on the day of a meeting, we drive by to see what we're looking at, and I did see some workmen there, so I was just kind of concerned about that.
I gave him a little relief in that regard because it had
Okay.
nothing. The work that I allowed them to continue was not related to the roof itself.
Yeah, and they were working on the front porch, so it's not,
Yeah.
that wasn't related to the roof, so, all right,
No.
thanks.
Okay.
Wayne, how did you realize that it was too high?
That's what I carry a tape measure for. So I went in to do the rough frame inspection, and I, looking at it from the street, I said, gee, that looks awful tall. But I actually attributed it to the fact that it's so close to the street, that why it looks kind of taller than 30 feet to my mind. But so anyway, when I went in to do the rough inspection, I measured the distance from the ridge pole to the bedroom floor, and then compared it to the plan. And on the plan, it's 16 feet from the floor, and in reality, it's 18 feet from the floor. So immediately knew something wasn't right. Notified the owner, and then they came up with all the other measurements. But I mean, I could see it obviously wasn't built according to the plan. And if by just sticking my tape measure out the door and down to the ground, it was too tall. I mean, I just did a simple measure from A to B, and something wasn't right. And so it led to more accurate measuring. But it seemed like it took a while for them to figure out what they actually had done wrong. Because I didn't get an explanation for a good 2 or 3 weeks.
I have a question, Attorney Smith. Why do you suppose, does your client give you an answer as to why they went off the plan, why they went off the rails?
I'm sorry, didn't you hear the full question?
Why did your client give any reason as to why they didn't build according to the plan?
My understanding through conversations is decisions were made primarily to make the building more structurally sound, going from 2x8s to 2x10s.
I thought you said there was an increase in the pitch too, to 7 pitch.
By the explanation that I received is there were modifications of the roof lines to make the gables that project off of the dormers that project off of the gable roof to transition better from the gable roof to the dormers.
And they didn't think to go down to the building inspector and ask about it?
Clearly they didn't. And I get, accept this for what it's worth. I'm a lawyer, I'm not a contractor, though I've seen a lot over the years. And I have yet to see a building constructed according to plan.
Well, I guess just because
Exactly
we're talking
what it
about
is.
this, because we're talking about this point, and I think we would have to check back in the meeting minutes where we provided a special permit for the setback.
Right, we've already
That-
given relief for this property.
What's that?
We have already issued relief for this property.
Not only that, but during that issuing that relief for this property, and only because I just did it on the last hearing, and I know we do it in many hearings, is that we instruct the resident that they must build according to the plans presented. And I don't know if it was specifically done in that in their situation, but if it was, they didn't build per our specifications or per our direction, which means, I would be leery about granting relief.
But they are back here seeking additional relief,
Hello?
I don't know, Jocelyn, are we gonna accept for those in favor of, or those are against? I don't know if there's anyone there. I mean, that's our normal procedure, and then,
But we're just asking questions of the applicant right now.
right,
And if anyone has any further questions, is what I want to know of the applicant, of the counsel for the applicant.
Yes, one quick question. David McCool here, Attorney Smith. So from the evidence that you've seen, this is all done inadvertently. They made a couple of minor modifications. It added up to why we're here. It was all
There were
inadvertent.
incremental, independent decisions that were made that added up to a problem. Any single one by itself probably would have been okay. Is this a wholesale change from the plan that was submitted? Absolutely not. If you look at that building, you walk through these plans, it is substantially identical what's on the plan, but there have been some modifications. That is not out of character in the industry. That's more the norm. So I would take difference with that. And I would encourage the board also to look at the standards for the granting of a special permit or the denial of a special permit for an increase in height in an R2 district from anything from 30 to 35 feet. And just identify what facts exist that doesn't show that this qualifies for that relief.
Well, my sense,
We will do that. We will do that.
my sense of the concern is, in light of the fact that this project was before this board before, and a specific relief was granted and was not conformed to, how are we to be sure that the same problem is not going to reoccur?
I believe that would be in the realm of the building inspector. I think it's inconceivable. Well, first of all, it's done. So I guess the simplest answer is we're not dealing in the abstract. What's being proposed is what exists. And beyond that, if there's not compliance, the building inspector clearly is not reluctant to put a stop to it.
Okay,
And you'd be justified in doing so.
thank you. So is there any more questions from the board of the applicant? So we're going to move on to asking if there is any persons present who would like to speak in favor of the application. And we don't remember that we already have the written petition, which has been read into the record by Attorney Smith in terms of address, but we will be including that in our decision. Every single person who has written in favor or opposition. So is there anyone else in favor who would like to speak?
I'd like to say that I'm in favor of the project.
Okay.
I actually, sorry to interrupt, a couple of my neighbors reached out. They weren't able to log into the Zoom meeting. Kim Campo gave me the corrected one.
Okay. Can you tell me
But some of my
that?
neighbors were interested in logging in to speak in favor of the project.
What is your name and address? We can make a note for you.
My name is Ron Petrucci, 35 Castle Road.
Okay. And obviously you're in favor, because you're the applicant.
Yes.
That's good. Anyone else like to speak in favor?
Yes, this is David Walsh,
Okay.
11 Fox Hill Road. I'd like to speak in favor. I think this building is a great added positive sign for our neighborhood. What was there before was quite unsightly, and this has really done a great service for us because it enhances our property values also.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor tonight of this application? Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposite? Oh, Mr. York, is it?
Is this for the Dignans that you're talking about now?
No, this is for the different property.
Okay.
But we haven't got to that yet. Hang on. It'll be a few more minutes. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition of the application for 35 Castle Road? No? Okay. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to deliberate, and we're going to talk amongst ourselves, and we will let anyone know if we have any questions. Okay. In the meantime, please don't interrupt us. All right. All right. So fellow board members, what does everybody think?
well, I've been trying to look for the meeting minutes of the hearing where we granted a special permit, because
Okay,
if we,
I have that.
you do?
for you. I do. So
Okay.
let me share that with you right now. And let me get with my share screen so everybody can see it. There's too many things down here, I think. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. you can see, here's the decision, a copy of the decision from 35 Castle, from the last decision. And we always put it at the end, but I did a little screening while other people were talking, and I didn't see either. And I suspect it's because it was only the front setback that he was seeking, relief from.
So nobody had made that motion with as drawings as presented?
I don't see it here in the decision, no.
Okay. I mean, and I'm not questioning you, Jocelyn, because I know you're really good at this, but
No, it's-
it wouldn't have been something that was just left out of the decision.
It is possible, so I can take a quick look at the minutes as well, if you can hang on a second.
Yep.
For the minutes, one second.
Can I just ask why that is a particular area of concern, that point?
Well, if we ask somebody to build as plans presented and they go and make changes, then they've basically bypassed the stipulation that we've put on the decision. And I don't know if that means it negates the special permit that we already gave them, but I think it does. I mean, what if instead of building the peaked roof that he built, he decided to build a gambrel or some other design, and he changed the plan completely? I mean, we've had that happen in the past, and I think that's why we started to do the plans as presented.
Right, and I agree with you, Peter. Most of the time, that is what we do, but we
Yep.
didn't do it here. I'm looking at the minutes right now, and I'm not.
Okay. All right, I'm fine with that then.
But even just because it's not there, doesn't mean that they have free reign to go and build whatever they want either.
Exactly. Right.
But I think that's not even the relevant point. It's because they were here for one piece of relief, which I think was like a setback, right?
Yeah, it's a front setback.
They were granted that relief. There's a current issue, which, they've gone through what that is. And I think the right way to look at it is this relief that's currently requested appropriate to grant right now? That's how I look at it. I mean, I know it, I see what you guys are looking at, the big picture but I just don't think that the prior application bears that much on this application, that from my perspective.
And Peter,
From my
even if,
perspective, I would say, I'm sorry, Michael, go ahead.
even if there had been the provision that you thought was in the prior decision, Peter, and it had been violated, or we determined that it had been violated, the relief for that would have been the action that Wayne took. In other words, he took the only appropriate enforcement action that there could be, and that triggered this new application for relief. So I'm not sure that we've got any further power to do anything about a non-conformity to the prior action.
Yeah.
And
No,
in that respect, I think it makes sense to look at this as if this were a pre-construction application. In other words, if there had been no construction on the site and we were just asked to deal with the non-conformity of 1.5 feet, how would we deal with it?
Right. I totally agree with you. And I agree, Mr. Smith did an excellent job basically pointing out how we can provide relief or why we should provide relief. And he addressed each of the points. My point was that if we had asked this, this person to build according to a set of plans and they stepped outside of that, I would be reluctant, even though it's already been built, I would be reluctant to give them the ability to do more. That's the way I look at it. I mean, if he was coming back to us because instead of being too high, we gave him, I forget what the setback was, but we gave him relief on a setback of say 7 feet versus the 10 feet that he's supposed to have. Well, what if he went to 5 feet instead of 7 feet? Now he stepped outside the relief that we actually gave him. So it's kind of a moot point, but I just wanted to find out and make sure that you know, we're being, that our previous decision on this property isn't being, you know, skirted.
Right.
And we usually do that too. We usually put that condition on there, but I think because in this case, we didn't probably think about it because it was just the front setback.
Right.
I'm guessing that,
Right.
because it wasn't in either. I could go back and watch the tape, but usually I watch the tape and I prepare the minutes, so we should be covered there. Okay, so what we need to do is to figure out, you know, I do agree, Attorney Smith did a good job reviewing those factors. Those were the factors I studied today and trying to figure out how I felt about everything. Certainly, this is a good sized lot. I think that's a contributing factor for us. It's larger than most. And we have a tremendous amount of support from the community, which I always think of as important, but not the deciding factor. And it is only a foot, a little over a foot of difference in height, even though I don't like it. And I'm afraid other people are going to make the same mistakes in future developments. So I don't know. I'm in favor of allowing it, much to my chagrin. How does everybody else feel?
Yeah, I think we,
Jocelyn,
Go ahead, Mike. David?
yeah, I mean, I'm in favor of granting the relief just because I agree with Attorney Smith on the point that no matter what we say, these projects are always, they're never going to be exact. There's always going to be a couple inches here, a couple inches there due to construction or mistakes in construction. So it's never going to be exact on any project. So I do agree with Attorney Smith on that point. And because it was a couple of different modifications that were several inches or a little more, it added up to this. And it was inadvertent, and the neighbors are all okay with it. It doesn't impact them. And it's underneath the 35 feet in the zoning bylaw that allows a special permit. So I'm in favor of granting relief.
One reason why, though, that I think that one thing that works against it is the fact that it is a waterfront property. And although we're not supposed to, and we don't follow precedent necessarily, in the past, we've been a lot stricter with the waterfront properties in terms of height. And we've actually had one property that we asked them to take it down about a year ago.
Right.
So, but that was 5 feet over, so it's a little bit different. All right, anybody else want to have contribute to the conversation? Like Michael?
So
please?
maybe a motion is in order to find that the proposed modification would not be substantially more detrimental.
Okay, anybody want to second that?
I'll second that.
And any discussion on the motion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye, Peter Barber, aye.
Attorney Smith has got his hand raised.
Oh,
I know, but we're in the middle of a vote, so he can wait till we're done. So Peter?
yeah, Peter Barber votes aye.
Okay. Max?
David McCool, aye.
I'm aye. I vote aye.
Mike Raworth, aye.
And Jocelyn Campbell, aye. So we just made a finding.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's
make-
take a break for a second. Mr. Smith, did you want to say something?
Only that it would appear that the criteria for granting this particular special permit is different than those that are referenced, I believe, section 7 of the zoning bylaw, not necessarily substantially more detrimental, but
Yes.
the issues is as to whether or not it's overdevelopment of the lot exceeds the FAR
Right.
or interferes with the
Mr.
views.
Smith, we're gonna get there. Just give us a second, okay? We're just not
Thank
there
you.
yet. Hang on a second. So what you're gonna see, everyone, is I'm gonna share my screen with you again. And you're going to see that, 1 second, don't go away. The dimensional table.
I think we can probably issue it under the other standard too, though.
We can too, but no, we just haven't got to that point yet. If you want to take a look at your bylaws, that's the part I wanted to show you. I have it highlighted for you on the bylaws. Hang on a second. And here are the bylaws. Okay. And what we're looking at is section 502D.
I'm seeing a plan, not a bylaw.
You don't see a bylaw?
Not on the screen, no.
Okay.
You're showing us the plot plan of 35 Castle Road. What was that section?
It's 702D.
2D.
It's 502.
Yes, 502D
Mhm.
talks about the height.
Okay, here we go.
2D.
Can you see my word processing now?
Yes, yep.
I have it highlighted for you so I can bring it up. Here you go. This is what Attorney Smith has been talking about. The fact that we
All right.
have, it says here that the height limitations in the dimensional table shall not apply. Are in the R2, B2 Natural Resource District. The height may be increased to 35 by special permit if the board finds that the additional height will not cause overdevelopment of the lot, increase the floor area ratio over that permitted in the district, or interfere with the views. So in order to look at those 2 points, one of them is the FAR. Let's look at the FAR. And I pulled up the dimensional table previously from the, I know that Mr. Smith provided it, but I also checked the dimensional table from the prior application. And we have a FAR, according to this application, of 26%, which was far less than the required of 45%. So that particular piece was met already. And then the fact that the lot is over the 10,000 square feet meets the other piece of it. So
Right.
I wasn't concerned.
So I move that we find that the additional height will not cause overdevelopment of the lot, increase the floor area ratio over that permitted in the district, or interfere with views or sunlight of adjoining or nearby properties in a significant manner.
I'll second that.
Perfect.
You beat me to it, Mike.
Okay, so would anyone have any discussion on the motion?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, all in favor?
Peter Barber says aye.
David McCool, aye.
Max Casper, aye.
Michael Raworth, aye.
And Jocelyn Campbell, aye. Okay, so the next step is regarding a special permit. Is there anyone who'd like to bring a motion?
I'll make a motion that based on the findings, we provide the relief of a special permit, increase the height to 31 feet, whatever it is, 4 inches.
1.6.
And
31.6 feet.
31.6 feet, and that any other work is done according to the plans presented.
Second,
So any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Peter Barber votes aye.
David McCool, aye.
Max Casper, aye.
Michael Raworth, aye.
And Jocelyn Campbell, aye. Okay. So, Mr. Petrucci and Attorney Smith,
Yes.
we granted a special permit for you for this issue.
Thank you so much.
Bear in mind that there's an appeal period of 20 days. We will be filing our decision within the next 2 weeks. And that's it. Then after that, you're going to need to record that special permit at the Registry of Deeds. Okay?
Just one thing, if I could, to the extent that it matters, the fact that he did not comply with the previous relief that the board gave him is pretty much what got him here today. And so if people don't comply one way or the other, whether they come back to amend the last one because it would, you wanted to state that it should have been conformed to those plans, or because it wasn't a conformance, he's in violation. In any event, he had to come back and see you. So you were going to get a bite at that apple regardless. This was this avenue and not an amendment of the original one.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Have a good
Thank
evening.
You too.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay, everyone. So the next hearing that we have in front of us is for 51 Pond Street. And on 51 Pond Street, we have, get started here. The meeting is being recorded as we begin. Today is May 3rd, 2021. And it is 5:48 p.m. That's our start time. And the petition is on for Mr. and Mrs. Dignan for the property at 51 Pond Street, Nahant, Massachusetts. And although some of you may have already been present at the first hearing, we want to explain that we are here today doing a Zoom hearing per order of the governor of the state of Massachusetts, an order that was issued on March 22nd, 2020, allowing us to meet in this fashion rather than in person to help prevent the spread of the coronavirus. That's why we're here today. And we have published notice of this hearing in the newspaper on Glen item, on April 19th and April 26th. And I'm going to quickly read the article that we posted. Public hearing on the petition filed by Sean and Jennifer Dingen for the property located at 51 Pond Street, Nahant, Massachusetts, seeking a special permit to add an addition. The inspector of buildings has denied the building permit on March 1st, 2021, because the proposed addition is in violation of section 503 of the zoning bylaws of the town of Nahant, where the proposed lot coverage is 36%, where the maximum allowed is 25%. And the proposed floor area ratio is 48%, where the maximum allowed is 45%. The proposed left side setback is where the minimum allowed is 10 feet. And the proposed right side setback is an extension of same, where the minimum allowed is 10 feet. That's the advertisement that we placed in the newspaper. I'd like to introduce the board members of those of you who weren't here at the prior hearing, may not have heard. But my name is Jocelyn Campbell. Also hearing this matter tonight are David Walsh, Max Casper, David McCool, and Michael Rauer. Peter Barber is here, but he is not one of the members hearing tonight on this matter. Okay, so the next step for us is to begin the hearing. So if the petitioner would like to present their matter, we would like to hear it.
Hi, this is Tony Rosine. I'm the architect for the project.
Hi, Tony, how are you?
Good, how you doing?
Good.
So the basic, I mean, you guys have seen the plans. You just read off the special permit request for the floor area ratio, and the lot coverage. Essentially, the left side, right side setbacks are existing, and we're looking to.
Tony, could you hold on just 1 minute, please?
Yes.
Somebody has either a TV on or some talking in the background. Yeah. So could we kind of get them to be quiet wherever they are? I don't know who it is. Somebody has some talking.
Just mute if you're not talking, even easier.
Right. I can't seem to mute them myself. All right, we'll keep going.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's muted except for Sean Dignan and Susan Hendrickson. And Tony, of course, because he's speaking.
Okay. All right, Tony, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So essentially, right now, this is a two-story structure with a one-story structure off the rear. That's not the full width of the front part of the house. So what we're looking to do to be able to add, there's a couple things. One is they currently only have one bathroom in the house, which is located on the second floor in the front above the stair. It's a very small space and it services the entire house. So by doing what we're proposing to do, which is to square off the one-story addition in the back and then extend it 6.5 feet further towards the rear, it opens up enough space on the first floor to put in a bathroom that can service the first floor and gives them a bit more space to have a functional family room in the back, as well as a rear entrance. And on the second floor, we essentially would build over a portion of the existing one-story structure by pulling the two bedrooms almost straight back, not all the way back. And then that frees up enough space in the middle of the second floor to allow for a more functional bathroom that would serve all of the bedroom spaces on the second floor. You will see in your plans, they do get a bit of a master closet that will help a lot for them. So essentially that's the project in a nutshell. The height does not change. We're just extending the roof line straight back to cover the new addition in the rear. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. I also, before we get into any questions, what have you, I wanted to read in the planning board letter, which I forgot to read in earlier. So we received a letter from the planning board who commented on this, and just so the applicant and all the other people present know this, when we receive a zoning application, Kim Campo, the secretary in the building department, sends out a copy of the packet to all of the different boards in town. And then they have 35 days to comment on it. And that's what, sometimes we do get comments, and this is one of those comments today. It's a letter from the planning board that I received on Town of Nahant letterhead, saying basically, dear Jocelyn, this letter shares the planning board's comments on the above captioned appeal to the ZBA of the denial of a building permit. First, we'd like to call to your attention to the multiple inadequacies of the application, but particularly the lack of any key measurements on the plot plan. Second, we would like to point out that contrary to the description on the application, the proposed addition does not maintain or extend the existing nonconformity of the right side setback at approximately 3 feet, where the zoning requirement is 10 feet. The right side setback, the right side of the building is not parallel to the property on that side, and the building and the property line get closer together as one goes deeper into the lot. As drawn on the plot plan submitted, it appears that the extension of the building and the new deck would be set back less than even 3 feet from the property line. This concerns us from the standpoint of public safety, as well as for precedents to exacerbating nonconformities. We recommend that the ZBA require new construction to maintain the current setback as measured at the rear of the existing building. Thank you for your attention to these comments. Okay. So we've heard from you, Tony. Do you want to address either one of those items that the planning department has raised? One regarding it not being parallel to the line, and the other regarding the public safety issue?
Sure. As far as it's true, it isn't parallel when I look at it. If this was maybe something that Wayne could speak to, because he's the one that wrote the denial letter and put it that way. I didn't submit that that way necessarily. It looks like, according to the certified plot plan, that it's roughly 3 feet. There are, for my purposes as a professional architect, there are adequate measurements on this plan to be able to see them, which is how they were able to read it and determine what they determined. As far as public safety, I'm at a loss. I have no idea what they're speaking to there, and why that's a public safety issue.
Well, I believe it would be because of fire safety. If the houses are too close together, they won't be able to get to them in time if there's a fire issue.
But they don't have that information to be able to make that call, because that's not on the plan. And for the most part, the house is between 3 and 4 feet from the property line, as is. But I'm not sure how the planning board came up with it as a public safety issue, because the other house isn't even, it's not located, nor is it required to be located.
Well, the issue I think that they're trying to raise is that it's already non-conforming, and there's a reason why the town has the setbacks that we have, maybe, perhaps. I'm not sure. I'm not the planning board, so I don't know.
Right.
How close is that
either.
18 Emerald? How close is the neighbor's house? Roughly.
To the property line?
Sure.
Isn't this
About 10 feet.
closest to my house? I have no issue.
Yeah. To your question, Max, it's probably about 10 feet from the property line, and then another 10 feet to the house, roughly.
All right, thanks. That's helpful.
I think there's a couple people trying to talk, but you guys are muted.
Does the board have any further questions for Tony?
I'm assuming that the planning board's concern had to do with the ability to get a fire truck into the backyard, if you will, to have access to a fire. And so what's the status of structures that would impede that?
Is that a question? I don't want to speak out of turn. Is that a question for me?
That would be a
Yes,
question
please.
to you.
Okay. It's the same as it is today, more or less within inches. On the right side, it's the same. It's It actually probably increases on the left side by about the same amount, inches. So the driveway is on the left side of the house currently. It's remaining there. So it's roughly identical to what it is today.
Okay.
And the driveway has access to the backyard, affords access to the backyard?
It does. It goes all the way straight into the yard on the left side of the house.
Great. Thanks.
Mhm.
Okay. Do any of the board members have questions for Tony or for the applicant?
No.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
so at this point in the hearing, what we will do is we'll listen to any petitioners who are here to speak on behalf of the applicant. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the application?
Yeah, hello, this is Matt Hendrickson. We abut their property. And you're concerned with the fire department getting into their house.
You're hard to hear.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. In regards to the fire department have to get on the right hand side of the house, they would do that through my yard. I spent 27 years on the fire department, and believe me, they would not be going down that 3-foot space. We would not use that for an access point to the second floor. They would throw a ladder from my backyard up to their house, and there's plenty of room there for that.
Okay. So, Mr. Hendrickson, what's your address? I need to put it down for the application for the.
16 Emerald Road.
Okay. Okay, so you're in favor of the project, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, and your name is spelled what?
Hendrickson.
Thanks very kindly.
Is there anyone else here who is speaking in behalf of the applicant or here to speak in favor?
Right.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Greg.
Well, either way, I'm in favor of it. I'm right next door. You know what I mean? If they needed if they couldn't get the fire from Maddie's yard, they could get it from mine. So
And what's your last name, sir?
York,
And your address?
18 Emerald Road.
Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor?
Yes, this is Irene Hamernick, Hamernick of 12 Emerald Road. I support the project as well.
Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the project?
Yes, this is Linda Barba. I'm at 22 Emerald Road, and I'm speaking in favor of the project as well. I think it will add to the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you very much. And the next person who would like to speak in favor?
Yep. My name is Jameson Williams. I'm at 23 Valley Road, and I'm in favor of it as well.
Okay. And yes, Ms. Schultz, is it?
Yes, hi, my name is Maureen Schultz. I live at 31 Valley Road, and I am in favor of this project. I actually think it's nice that the neighbors are trying to improve our neighborhood. So I am in favor. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to the project? Okay. Seeing no hands raised and no one speaking. All right, so thank you very much for coming and supporting your neighbor. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into deliberations, and that's when we talk amongst ourselves, so you can't interrupt us, but we will let you know if we have any questions, okay? All right, thank you very much. All right, so fellow board members, what does everybody think about this project?
Seems to me that the most significant question is the provision suggested by the planning board. In other words, the additional width going deeper into the yard, as to whether or not that's going to be a problem.
So our members for this hearing, Michael, David, the only person who's not here tonight is Peter. So Max, David, do you have anything you want to add to this? You know, I'll tell you something. When I drove by it, I drove by twice and then I went around the back. And I was kind of perplexed. I'm like, why on earth would we want to add to this? It's so congested. But I understand everybody needs more space. Everybody needs this, and I understand they need a bathroom or have you, but it just seemed like it was so congested back there. I was a little taken back by it. Then I always feel that way. So does anybody have anything in particular they want to say that they feel is important? No? Okay.
Nope, I don't have a problem with the design.
Okay. And what about the setback issue?
Me either. I feel the same as Dave. It doesn't, like you said, Jocelyn, everything's congested. None of these are gonna be perfect. It's not a huge ask. Nobody's against it. I don't, I hear what the planning board's saying, but not really. It's the same condition as is there already. It's not making anything any worse. I'm not finding a reason to not approve it.
So I move that the board find that the project as proposed would not be significantly more detrimental.
Does anyone want to second that motion?
I will second that motion, David Walsh.
Any discussion on the motion? And all in favor?
David Walsh, aye.
David McCool, aye.
Max Casper, aye.
Michael Raworth, aye.
And Justin Campbell, no. I just feel, my opinion is I just feel like there's just too much, there's 4 asks here, and it's already non-conforming beyond belief, and I think it's too much myself. But that's my opinion. All right, so next, anybody want to bring a motion?
I'll make a motion that we grant the special permit for the relief requested.
I will second that motion, David Walsh.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
David Walsh, aye.
David McCool, aye.
Max Casper, aye.
Mike Raworth, aye.
And Jocelyn Campbell, no. Okay, so Mr. and Mrs. Dignan, we have granted you a special permit for the construction project as per your application. And you will have a decision recorded or filed with the town clerk in approximately 2 weeks. We're going to try and do it faster than that, but we have at least 2 weeks to do it. And then after that, there's a 20-day appeal period by which you must wait usually before you begin construction. And you should record your special permit at the Registry of Deeds. And you should make sure you start the work within 2 years of receiving this special permit. Otherwise, it'll expire. Okay. All right, so everybody's all set. And if the members could please stay on the line, because we have to schedule a new matter, and everybody else can just take off if they like. Okay.
Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
very
Oh,
much.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Jocelyn, just real quick, just so you know, Kim knows, but the Zoom ID was mailed out to everyone, was different than what was posted on the agenda.
Okay, I didn't get, I'm not a party to that. All I know is that they post it, and so I'll put them on.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody seems to be able to have access to it, though. Whatever happened, I don't know.
Well, I think
Jocelyn,
that might have.
I gotta jump off. I gotta go to another meeting. But I'm pretty flexible now. I don't have class anymore, so
Okay.
schedule away.
I understand. We just have to schedule something between May 11th and June 10th.
I think it might be the ones I'm not gonna be participating in anyways, right?
58 Lennox,
Oh,
the new one?
no.
Okay, we have 4 of them scheduled on May 17th. I haven't sent out the lineup for those yet because I wanted to take care of this one first and not everybody be confused. So the one that was, the new one is 658 Lennox. That has to be scheduled between May 11th and 6th and June 10th. Is any Monday okay with you, ma'am?
Yes,
Okay.
every Monday is fine with me.
At 5
Yeah,
o'clock.
Mondays are good for me too.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, May 17th is not good. I have town meeting in
You
Swampscott.
also, well, May 17th, you have a hearing with us. Remember? We scheduled 4 matters on that night.
I know I said I had town meeting though. I
I
remember
know.
saying it.
And we might have town meeting too.
No, it'll be the 15th and the 16th.
But you also said
Yeah,
that.
that-
you would be able
It may
to-
not finish
Oh,
by
yeah,
then.
yeah, we're gonna.
Exactly.
We talked about scheduling them, so the one that I was going to were gonna be first, right?
Well, we already had one scheduled for 5. So what we did.
Right, my town meeting's not till 7, so I think we'll be good.
You're on at 5:30 and you're on at 6.
Yep,
Okay?
that'll be good. We'll make
And
it
I
work.
think what I'm going to do this time is I'm going, and I wish I should have said something to Attorney Smith tonight. Because, you know, sometimes he can talk, he's great. He did take a while to speak. That's all I'm going to say. We'll give everybody a half an hour and we'll say that's it. Okay. So you do your speak. And if you want to continue your matter, we will. But you only have a half an hour on that evening because we have time constraints. Okay?
All right, so I'm good for every Monday other than that and Memorial Day, but I really gotta jump
Go ahead.
over, okay?
Okay. We'll take care of it then.
Thanks, bye.
See ya. What are we going to do if town meeting goes to a third day?
Well, what's the chance of it going for a third day and then still going on at 5 o'clock at night?
Well, it would
It would be
probably-
around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock.
yeah, it would start at maybe 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So, I mean, the only thing I could suggest is that we would do a postponement, or, you know, just because it wouldn't be fair. I mean, I could be presenting at, you know, at that point in town meeting. So, you know, that's going to be a problem.
We'll do that then.
Yeah. As far as the end of May, beginning of June, and I haven't gotten confirmation. I'm waiting to get travel approval back from my company. But I have a special project that I may be assigned to in Dallas. Not to say that I can't sit, because I've sit remotely before. I just want to, I'm not sure when it is. And I think Mondays would be fine. The rest of the week I'd be a little worried about because I would be traveling either the 25th or the 1st of June.
Okay. So if town meeting continues for that Monday night, we'll just postpone it. We're gonna have to,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I mean,
Well, wouldn't it make more sense to schedule things for the 24th so that we don't have to notify everybody who may be, I mean, there's 4 matters on. That's a lot of dislocation in people's plans.
Right, but we already have it scheduled. It's already been scheduled and advertised.
So I would say that there's a high likelihood we would get through at least the first few of those. And, you know, if we start running out of time, then we would just, again, make a motion to postpone based on, you know, town meeting running over. I mean, who could possibly have foreseen that town meeting would run into a third day?
Right. All right, so if it happens, it happens. You know, we can't schedule all these matters, so I don't know.
Right.
All right, so I'm gonna follow up with Kim on the issue of the Zoom. But everybody was able to get in. Okay, I know I sent the wrong one today when I was trying to remind everybody.
Yeah. Well, I apologize, but earlier I yelled down to my wife because she was passing off because I was already on the meeting. They knew I had the right meeting, so I was passing off the Zoom, what do you call it? The meeting
link.
number and passcode, because it's not, the letter that we received is not correct.
Okay, the one you
So I
received in the mail?
The one that we received in the mail, the notice of public hearing, is incorrect.
Kim sent those out, so I'll check with her about that.
Right.
We need a secretary. It's all there's to it. You know,
One that
it's only just
the
a
one that
hunch.
was on the town website was correct.
Right.
That's.
But, I mean, thankfully,
Explain it. I don't know
thankfully-
why the mailed one would be different.
yeah, thankfully, all the abutters, at least, I mean, I know I didn't see Tim and Julie, there's direct next door neighbors. I didn't see Melissa Gallery or a few people across the street, but not that they would not have gotten on. But most of the neighbors were on.
And so another thing I want to tell you all is that David McCool is going to be leaving us.
Oh, geez.
David.
Thanks,
retiring.
Dave.
Yeah, no, I apologize. I have a lot going on, my regular job and another,
Yeah.
something else coming up. But I'll stay on as, as long as I have to until until we have, someone to replace and all that. So,
Appreciate that, David. And I know you mentioned a while ago to me that things were getting tight for you.
yeah.
So
I'll, I get through May and then, maybe through June if I have to, whatever I get, I'll do it. Have until you're all set. I'll stay on.
especially these matters that were on, like I'm going to be sending this out for the May. There were 4 and we had several recusals. So if you weren't available, I don't know what we'd do.
Right. Hey, Jocelyn and David, I certainly wouldn't want to push you to stay on past what you could do, but do we have a definitive number? Like, so David has been a member for, well, I think more than a year now. Could he stay in the wings as a kind of a member? And if we had an emergency, hey, David, would you be able to step in and sit through a hearing? Because we had, some people that recuse. I'm just,
become an alternate instead of a regular member.
Yeah, well, as an alternate, but how many alternates, could, like, even if we didn't use him as often as we would a normal alternate. And again, David, I don't want to push you into something that you may not be interested in doing, but I just a thought. I mean,
I think he wants out.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
would, like I said, until I know you have a couple of
Right.
new alternates that one of them could step into my position
right.
and I could be an alternate. I mean, I would do the best I can to help you for as long as I could.
I could see that'd be really good, like on those rare circumstances when we have more than one recusal or even 2 or 3. Like we could have, according to our rules and regulations, we can have the 5 members plus up to 4 alternates. And right now we have 5 members and 2 alternates, and we run into a problem sometimes because we're such a
I mean, again, it's just a suggestion, and then we again try and fill the position, and then get other alternates.
Okay, we will. Tony said he had somebody else in mind, so I'll run that by him. So before we go anywhere, 2 things. One of them, I'll pick a date, I guess, for this hearing on 58 Lennox. It's a Monday. Is everybody? I'll work around Memorial Day, and if Mondays are okay for everyone, I'll pick a Monday, like maybe the first Monday in June or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see. I don't know when Memorial Day is. I forget.
It will be 20.
Yes, the 31st. I think that's a Monday, the first. Well, I'm sorry. The first Monday in June should be like the 8th.
Yeah.
It'd be the 6th.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 31st is Memorial Day.
Right.
We do the 24th, which is just a week after our next hearing, or we do June 7th.
Doesn't matter. Either way.
Okay. 24th or the 7th?
Yeah.
Anybody care? Michael, do you care?
Yep.
You good?
Yeah, Mondays are fine for me. So
David, I couldn't hear you. What'd you say?
Mondays are fine for me.
Okay.
Really doesn't matter too much.
You don't care if it's the 24th or the 7th?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I think the 5 o'clock works great because, I mean, the only problem I may have is if I have a work call, but it is what it is.
I'm going to pick the 7th. I'll tell you why. Because in the event that we do have to continue the one that's on the 17th, we'd want to do it the next week.
Okay.
So if we do have to continue it, we'll leave that date open, okay? And I'll pick the 7th for the 58 Lennox. Okay.
We
So
could
the next
we
thing
could
is,
still be debating on the 24th though.
Right. So we need to approve the last minutes that were sent out and then any prior minutes. So I need someone to make a motion.
Motion to approve the past minutes.
Second.
is it all minutes or just the last meeting's minutes? The ones you have?
Past, pending past minutes.
The last ones and any past minutes. We're gonna ratify any past meetings in case we missed any along the way. So anyone want to second that motion?
Yes, I seconded it.
David
second?
Walsh.
Okay, and any discussion on the motion?
Nope.
All in
Nope.
favor?
Aye.
Peter Barber votes aye.
David Walsh, aye.
David McCool, aye.
Mike Raworth, aye.
Jocelyn Campbell, aye. Okay, I'll take care of that. All right, so we're done. Thank you.
Cool. All righty. Have a good night, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, talk
Thanks.
to you later on. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.